I would like to ask our council president, Beth Pence, to deliver an invocation on behalf of the city council.
Okay, thank you. Lord, help us all to remember the honor of service, to serve the city and each other and the area around us, and to have the courage to lead with truth and compassion. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Stand. Flag is next to the screen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 2026 regular council meeting?
Madam Mayor, I would ordinarily do that, but I did not get a copy of the minutes of the last meeting in my agenda packet. In fact, I didn't get an agenda packet, but
everybody did.
everybody did, okay,
Yes.
so I checked it several times.
Did you go to your city email?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay,
That's-
well, you have two.
Oh, maybe it went to the other one.
There was one change that I would recommend, and let me see, I have to find it. It is during, I'm going to find it. Under I'm sorry, on under item 10, this would be page 6 in our packet. There is was that it? I'm sorry, I'm still. Under item 11, there is a comment that is attributed to Paul Wheeler, who says, for point of order, stating that the city formed the marketing committee and the members were approved by the council each year. I do believe that comment was made by Councilman Tony Allred and not Mr. Wheeler. Am I correct in that? Do you all?
I remember that.
Yeah, that's so.
We also, Mr. Wheeler also made that he was the one to call point of order, but he also had that same statement.
All right, then I stand corrected. I didn't see that in a separate comment. All right. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from last meeting on January 20th.
And that is Councilor Beth Pence, Council President Beth Pence, and do I have a second?
Second.
And that is Councilor Jesse Price, and any discussion on mine?
If Jim, do you feel like you need an opportunity to look at them?
No, if other people have it, that's fine.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I have stuff disappear from my emails regularly.
Okay.
Have fat fingers.
I have read
Who
them.
knows?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion passes unanimously. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda for today?
So moved.
Councilor Jim Curtis, what, a second?
I'll second.
Council President Beth Pence, do we have any discussion on the agenda? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion passes unanimously and the agenda is adopted. I have rescheduled the public forum. One of our residents, namely Ms. Jerry Smith, suggested that we move that to the front of the agenda. And I thought that was a great idea, and I hope that this works. If it doesn't, we're flexible and we can move it back again. But thank you for that suggestion, so that folks have an opportunity to speak ahead of our discussions. So if anybody has any business before the council that is not scheduled on the agenda as a public hearing, you may speak to the council for up to 5 minutes at this time. Please identify yourself by name, and we do not have the need to list your address. It has come up in the past that folks have privacy concerns and personal safety concerns about listing where they live. You may simply identify yourself as a Sky Valley resident. So no formal action can be taken. So if we have anybody at this time who wishes to say something on Zoom or in the room, now would be that time.
For that productive work session. I agree with all the comments and everything that was said. One thing that I want to address today.
Please identify yourself for the record. Thank you. We know where you are.
Jerry Smith, and I live at 193 Pleasant Mountain Drive since 2008. The first thing I want to talk about is an item that's on the agenda today, draft and first reading of the amendment for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I would submit to you that this is not an item that can be done by resolution, that it has to go through the public hearing process. And I'm just going to try to get to both of them. I'm just going to read this instead of trying to add to it. The legal requirements for amending the Planning and Zoning Commission residency qualifications. The City Council is currently considering a change to allow non-residents to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. While the act of appointing an individual is an administrative function, changing the legal qualifications for that office, which are currently embedded in the Sky Valley zoning ordinance, is a legislative act governed by the Georgia Zoning Procedures Law. Under Georgia Code 3666-34B, a zoning decision is defined as any final legislative action that results in the adoption of an amendment to a zoning ordinance which changes the text of the zoning ordinance. Because Sky Valley's residential requirements are part of the zoning ordinance text, any modification is legally a zoning decision, not an administrative personnel matter. Per OCGA 36664, the city must complete the following to ensure the amendment is legally valid. A public hearing, a formal hearing must be held before the City Council or Planning Commission. Notice of the hearing must be published in the city's legal order within at least 15, but not more than 45 days prior to the hearing. The hearing must provide at least 10 minutes for both proponents and opponents to speak. The risk of non-compliance, and this is the important part. In Georgia, courts require strict compliance with the ZPI. If the city skips these steps, the amendment will be void. Dead from the start, the board will be considered illegally constituted, meaning every variance, site plan, or zoning recommendation they make could be challenged and overturned in Superior Court. Recommendation is to protect the city from litigation. It is recommended the council direct the city attorney to draft a formal text amendment to the zoning ordinance following the standard ZPI notification and public hearing process before making any non-resident appointments. I'm not going to go on there. Y'all have it all before you, and I just ask that you study this and take it into consideration. And then the second is on the is for the resolutions that were done for the establishment of the committees. And this memorandum serves as a formal objection to the recent resolutions attempting to redefine the citizen at large qualification for committees and board appointments to include part-time residents or property owners. Under Georgia law, this change is legally ineffective, procedurally flawed, and subjects the city to significant litigation risk. Violation of the Georgia Municipal Home Rule Act. The city charter defines committee members as citizens at large. A resolution is an administrative tool and cannot be used to amend the charter. Under OCGA 3635(3), any amendment to the charter requires an ordinance adopted through the following mandatory process: adoption at 2 consecutive regular meetings, publication of the amendment in the official county organ for 3 consecutive weeks. The resolution bypassing these steps is beyond legal authority and void. And I'm not going to go on, probably about that one, not 5 minutes, but not only does this violate our zoning procedures code, it violates our home rule charter amendment and also overrides the Georgia state law and the Constitution as their definition of what constitutes a resident. So I just want to like to ask that you study all this and take it into consideration and do the right thing.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Is there any other public comments? There being no further comments, we will move on to item number 6, mayoral and council remarks. And as mayor, I will go first. I do want to say thank you to our city hall, our city workers, and our police department for the fabulous job that they performed under a lot of duress in the past month. As far as storms, we've, as a city council, we've had literally a baptism by fire and ice. And I ask you to keep the Rice family in your prayers after their home burned down. I can't tell you how grateful we are for Officer Andrew Williams, who was our night shift officer and pretty much saved the lives of the Rice family. Unfortunately, they lost their home, but they do have their lives. Thank God for that. We also lost 2 of our longtime citizens in the past month. David Spears, who served in numerous capacities in City Hall and on City Council and on numerous committees, including all his work on the city of Sky Valley itself, and we send our condolences to the Spears family. We also did have to say goodbye to Mr. Wallace Whiten, one of our longtime residents who passed away. He was just a wonderful gentleman. And thank you to our first responders and our police who struggled valiantly to save Mr. Whiten's life, and he will be sorely missed in this community. Other than that, I know that I have some committee recommendations coming up. I will ask our city attorney to enlighten us on the earlier comments that were made, and we won't do that right now, but I will ask him to address those comments. And again, I just want to tell you how blessed we are to have such a wonderful force. Thanks, Jason, for overseeing everything during these past 2 storms.
It was not all me, Madam Mayor, but thank you for the.
It was a stellar effort, and I've never seen the city come together with such safety and emergency concerns as we had during these past 2 back-to-back storms in the city. So thank you again, and I will yield to Councillor Jim Curtis on this for this session.
I have nothing to say other than I hope that we are able to schedule another council work session on the subject of the septic to sewer in the first week of March, as soon as everybody gets back from Athens, or is that where you're going?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Counselor.
I have comments. I want to echo that the condolences to the families, the Spears and White family that we have lost. Their contributions to the city will be honored and that we missed, and condolences to the family. And also the staff did, the city employees, admin too. They worked just as hard as the snowplow is just different. That everybody in the police and the fire, everybody that came together in the city to keep everybody safe and work all those extra hours under those circumstances, I do appreciate. I do have a statement to make, and I want to say good morning again, and thank you to all the participants in the sewer discussion. And I agree with you, Jim. I would like to plan another one ASAP. That topic was in the foremost of what was the election, essentially, whether it was development or sewer or whichever way. So I agree with you. I think it's pressing, which leads me to share my level of disappointment and frustration with the current administration. I was expecting transparency. I was expecting collaboration. I was expecting cooperation. I was expecting timeliness of agendas and scheduling. I was expecting responsiveness to answering questions. I was expected to be participating in solving issues like the sewer and the negative cash flow of our water fund. None of this has happened. In fact, it should be funny, but it's not funny that I had to put in an open records request just to get some answers on the culvert we talked about the last meeting. Ignored emails to the mayor, the city attorney, and the city manager time and time again. Example, one email requesting that the committee meetings be publicly noticed in such a way that I could legally attend. Historically, I've always attended all public city meetings. I want to be informed. However, the way the mayor has structured these new committees, it excludes me or any other council person from attending any of them because it makes a quorum. But there's a legal way to allow any council person to attend. It's simply a language change in the public notices. Any of us could attend meetings as a spectator. I have requested it to the attorney, to the city manager, to the council, and to the mayor. Not a single response. Alarmingly, I know less now as an elected council person and have less access now than I did just as a citizen before. It's unbelievable. So I'm forced to use this platform, this opportunity to be heard. Let me be clear. I've been asking for sewer discussions and will be making motions for more, just like I did for the last meeting. I will make motions to discuss the shameful and negative water fund. And these critical issues must be addressed. I will continue to push for meetings, discussions, and actions. I know I'm only one voice and I'm only one vote, but I will not relent. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jessie Price. No. Council President Beth Hens.
No comment.
Councillor Tom John. Right, thank you. Moving on to the city manager report. Councillor Speaker.
Madam Mayor, good morning, council, those in attendance, those via Zoom. I've got a few comments here. Some of this has already been discussed, but I will be brief there on that. But again, I want to, as Mayor Cottonmore stated, I want to thank Jerry, you guys, Chief Sigler, Chief Balmas, the fire department, police department, everybody that was involved. Well, most recent storms delegated a bunch of folks. Ice and snow is beautiful, but it does put a big strain on the city's resources. We've got a great bunch of guys, as the mayor stated. We got a lot of snow. I can personally attest. I was up helping plow snow one day. I saw Council Beth Pence and her husband walking one day, and we were up.
Are you gonna tell?
She threw a snowball at me, but but anyway, that's okay. I was in one of the city, one of the city vehicles, so it was enclosed. But we were plowing snow that day, but again, we've been able to. The guys have been able to counter fresh. We've been able to restock. They've got brine made, sharpening, wear blades, changing fluids, all those things that need to be done. And we know, I find that in my position, I'm not a weather man, but I do find myself being kind of a lay weather person. I'm always kind of looking at the weather to see what's gonna happen, but, also not to, steal the police and fire's thunder. I'm sure they may talk about that, but again, thank you all for what you did with the Rices, the home on Ridgepole, the fire. I was up here that night, Jerry Show, Cody English were up here, helping with some, water flow issues, and again, Officer Williams. It's my understanding he had some smoke inhalations, things, but he was able to power through. I know Chief Thomas we did that night. That was a long night. And these guys came back the next day and went to work. So again, I commend them, for that. And then, just a notion, of course, most smoke detectors now, you have the batteries that beep, but just a good reminder, you may want to look at those, if you haven't done that in a while. Kind of to switch gears a little bit, in previous meetings, we have discussed the city, partnering with Black Mountain Software. Black Mountain is our accounting software that we use, and we've added a function called BMS Pay. And, that's finally been rolled out. What that allows customers to do is, they can get e-bills if you want to have your, water bill emailed to you versus paper mail. You have it texted to you. You can go in, you can save payment options, you can schedule payments, and you can view your bill at any time. If anybody's interested in taking advantage of BMS Pay, please reach out to Summer, our deputy clerk. She would love to, get you hooked up with that. And as the integration continues, the plan is eventually to bring in, the ability to pay fines, permits, property taxes, and your short-term rental license. Speaking of short-term rental license, I try to say this every meeting. If you have a current short-term rental, if you do not have a license, please get one. If it's time to renew it, please renew it, just so you remain in compliance and can avoid visits from Mr. Piper and the police department and have it come to the judge. Property taxes, segue, if you have paid them, thank you. They were due on February 2nd. We are now in the grace period that ends this Friday, the 20th. So, to avoid any penalties and interest, please make sure that you reach out to City Hall before then if you need to make those payments. City financials at this point, mid-2026, we're about 13% into the budget year, the calendar year. We run a calendar fiscal. And, right now, we're on par as far as expenditures. We're at 13% on the general fund, 14% on water, 15% respectfully. We do have a couple of items that hit the budget early in the year, most notably the workers' comp and the insurance. Those are big ticket once a year items that they kind of skew those numbers, but anyway, they're coming in. Revenue, we've taken in probably 90% of the expected property tax. Again, that's pretty good. We always have a few stragglers that kind of come in this time of year. But again, the deadline is this Friday, so people haven't done that. Revenue, for the year, we've taken in about 65% of the anticipated revenue. Again, with a lot of that being property taxes, that's why you see that. And water and trash, we're at 7%, but again, that only accounts for the month of January, so things are on track as far as expenditures and revenue for those main funds there. SPLOST collections have started rolling in. As you all may remember, that SPLOST was renewed in November of 24. And so, we just started receiving those, and as of date, we have received approximately $20,000, and which would be a total of about $595,000 once it's all received. Of course, this is a 5-year SPLOST. T-SPLOST, that continuation was approved the most recent November. Those collections begin again starting in June. I spoke with Mr. Conley, the county finance manager there, and he said that those collections should be fairly consistent with what we were receiving with the most recent SPLOST, which is on average around $50,000 a month. So what that means is that we'll probably see about a half a year SPLOST collections. We do have some T-SPLOST, I'm sorry, T-SPLOST collections. And so we do have some T-SPLOST money that from the most recent in the bank, and when we have the planning session in March that we're talking about, Mr. Show, Mr. English, the plan is to present you all a spending plan for some roadway improvements at that time, and get that out to bid and get those approved to move those projects forward. Transportation matters, the city, I went to a meeting last week, and the Georgia Department of Transportation district engineer for our district in Gainesville was there, and he said that the governor is going to be doing another supplemental LMIG, that is our local maintenance improvement grant money. This will be the third year in a row that they've done that. And those amounts have been around the $47,000 to $50,000 a year amount. The great thing about the supplemental LMIG is it does not require a match, where the LMIG, the traditional one, does 30%. And that goes a long way to help with roadway improvements. T-Splosh is great, but anytime you can take in additional funding, that's great as well. So that's good news. That's not sure if that will continue. I know that Governor Kemp is term limited and he's not running again, but again, I just want to share that anytime we can get grant money coming in, that's great. If you look at City Hall, we recently put lines up right now, that sometimes the glare can be pretty bad in here. I know for some of the elected folks who are sitting here, we have those lines up. I think they're a great addition to the City Hall and the council, and glad to have them. And finally, I think this is known that Mayor Benita and the newly elected council members, Beasley, Pence, and Price, we heading down to Athens for training in the month, and we wish y'all safe travels, and that y'all will get tons of knowledge. So safe travels there, and hope that I know that some of those folks are looking forward to. You'll meet a lot of new city and county elected folks throughout the region, state, and safe travels, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes,
Actually, I would, unless you were moving on to something else, I just wanted to address
please,
the
please,
council.
yes. Would you go up to the mic,
Sure.
please, if you don't mind, so everybody can hear you on Zoom as well?
Sure. So I'm Doug, the city attorney, and I just wanted to address Ms. Beasley's point earlier. The city council members, just by virtue of being a city council member, should have access to all information at City Hall. You, at no time should y'all ever have to make an open records request to get something. Practically how it should go is, if you ever want to see documents or things of that nature, let either the mayor or Jason know that you want to see them, and then they will let you know a time to come into City Hall so that you can review them. Now, be mindful that they're busy here, and it may not be immediately that day, but it may, within a day or two or three, you should be able to have access to pretty much any documents that you wish to have. So I've run into that in other cities, and apparently it has happened here as well, where the city council members felt they had to do an open records request to get something. You shouldn't do that. Y'all are the city, so you should be able, you have oversight of everything that happens here, so you should have those documents. And then more specifically, I think I want to address your point about sending an email, and I didn't send anything back. I reviewed the email that you just sent. I didn't send anything back because there was not, you didn't specifically ask me to. And the reason why I didn't is because previous administrations have basically said, if I get copied on an email, unless someone specifically asked me to respond, to not respond. So if y'all ever send something and you expected me to chime in and I didn't, either call me or send a follow-up and say, hey, address my points. I did see it. I just didn't respond because
it was a legal matter. That's why I copied you in on it.
I saw it, and it was like basically your explanation of what you thought the law was. And if you'd have just said, hey, Doug, chime in, I would have. So just to let y'all know.
Well, I've had to do that before, and I had an email before I asked you. It was like 6 or 7 days, and I sent it back and said I hadn't heard anything on this issue for 6 or 7 days.
Yeah.
Then you responded.
That's well because
But
like
can you clear up?
I have been previously instructed not to respond by other administrations. But if y'all want to do it that way, we can just do it.
Can you clarify then how we can address making sure that every council person can attend every meeting?
All right, so y'all can attend meetings so long as there's not a quorum there. It is an issue that, like, if there are already other council members who are like on a committee or something that's less than a quorum, If another council member shows up, it automatically becomes a meeting under the Open Meetings Act.
But you just have to notice it, that it's a meeting and that anybody in addition that's not on the thing can attend. I mean, I've pulled all sorts of legal documents that say it can be noticed in a way where people can attend. I just have to be a spectator.
Yes, you just need to be.
No problem.
Okay, so
But I've been told I could not attend. I couldn't even watch on Zoom.
I still take the position that unless it's previously noted that this council member is just going to be there as a spectator and you can't speak whatsoever.
No problem. I just want to look and I want to be present, read the room.
Let them know ahead of time so that it can be noted when they open up the meeting that there is going to be an additional council member here, but they're simply a spectator. They're not going to have any, anything to say during that meeting.
Do I need to make a motion that we officially make all public notices where all council people can attend if they would like?
If that's with the policy that y'all want to do, you can do that.
In the spirit of transparency, I would like to make a motion that meetings be noticed in such a way that all elected council officials can attend the meeting in an excess of a forum, that it would be a spectator use only.
I second the motion.
I have a comment. The other option that is available to all 5 of us and the mayor is that committee meetings are always available because they're videotaped after the meeting, so you can watch them after the meeting as well.
Which is what I had to do, but it's not the same. You've got audio difficulties. You can't see the other participants in the room. So I find that not as helpful.
I'm just making a point that they are available to
I
us.
would just counsel y'all that the temptation to go as merely as a spectator is going to be tempting for you to speak up or anyone to speak up. And if you do speak up, it automatically becomes a council meeting at that point. And we're going to be in trouble because we didn't notify the newspaper that it was going to be a council meeting, and there are other issues. That's why a blanket rule in place not to go there is a better way to do this rather than relying on each of y'all to be merely a spectator.
In the spirit of transparency, I promise you I have restraint.
And not just you, any.
Right, any of us. The other comment I would make is it can be intimidating to have 3, 4, 5 of us there and only 3 citizens who are serving on the committee. So that's something to consider as well. I'm not recommending one way or the other. I'm just saying, consider the fact that we can be an intimidation factor possibly.
I find that excuse for transparency, that it's intimidating to sit on Zoom or intimidating to sit at the back of the room like everybody that's here, is not a reason to cloak transparency.
Let it be known that I have absolutely no desire to attend any meeting that I'm not absolutely.
I understand, but I attended them all, before I was elected, I attended them, and now I can't even attend them.
Yeah.
And I attended them historically. I have a history of attending them. So I think there was a motion on, and there was second.
And that was discussion and,
Tony, I generally share your philosophy on that, but there have been times when I wanted to attend and been unable to. And listening in on Zoom is, I'm afraid, a poor substitute for actually being there.
right, so do we have a,
And I did not hear from Doug anything other than advice that I didn't hear that it was going to be illegal to do what the motion states.
So my understanding is the motion is that y'all are gonna have a policy that council members can go to other committee meetings. They will not be considered as part of a quorum because it's gonna be announced ahead of time that you're there merely as a spectator and you're not gonna chime in or collaborate at all with the committee meetings. That's my understanding. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Just, well, if y'all vote on it.
no, we have,
I just, can you, if this were to pass, can you help us with language to make sure we advertise it right?
Yes.
Okay.
now,
Say that again, Jason.
I was just asking if this were to pass, could we just have some language to make sure that we advertise it correctly and stay compliant? It was just-
Thank you. Yeah, good point.
all right, so all in favor of the motion as
Aye.
Aye.
presented?
Nay.
Nay.
No.
And
Yeah.
the motion fails.
That's all I had. I'll show it.
would you like to speak now to the, well, we'll hold off on that, okay? Department.
Madam Mayor, if you will recognize, Jerry Shelf, our Public Works Director, he's going to quickly give a report on the happenings of public works, roads, water, et cetera.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Everybody's come up here and said thank you to us and this, that, and the other. I want to say thank you to the citizens, the homeowners, the visitors that came in during the inclement weather, the storms. There was very little to no travel during these storms that made our life a lot easier to do what we needed to take care of. And, people through the fire department, the police, it was excellent. Communication was excellent. I think some of the volunteer fire guys and Chip Oliver and a lot of them were out there. They were cutting some limbs and using their side by side as well to help get the snow and stuff removed. And I just want to really tell everybody thank you for that. And on that, my guys were really good. They stayed out there as the weather got colder and colder, they become more unsafe. And that's when I decided we need to back up and regroup and start again tomorrow as the weather warms up. But, and timeshares give us a place to lay our head if need be when you got tired. So everybody's working together. It's going together well. We have a public works week, May the 17th through the 23rd, meet and greet, and we'll be on that Friday at the pavilion. It's gonna be its way on out. It's in May, but we did everything we could do with the storm, looking at the surrounding areas. We were very fortunate with what we got, what we could have gotten. I went down the road to Alabama over the weekend, just going south toward Turnerville, Demers. They still have a lot of trees down and this, that, and the other. Just we were very fortunate. I just want to tell everybody thank you.
Thank you, Jay. You all did a great job, and we really do appreciate that. And the great job comes with great overtime. So when the bill comes due, I would like us all to be aware of that and say, right, Mr. Streetman.
We have some happy employees, Madam Mayor. But they work for it. They definitely work for it.
I understand, and we saw them passing by in all hours, and, well, thank you again. Any questions?
Jerry, could you repeat the date and time for the Public Works Open House?
It is, the Public Works Week is May the 17th through the 23rd, and we'll meet at the pavilion on that Friday.
Pavilion on Friday. At what time?
12 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Madam Mayor, Jim Piper, the code enforcement official, you would recognize him. He will come forward and give his report, please.
Mr. Pyden, good to see you.
Again, good morning, council, residents. I too would like to thank, regarding the fire especially, the first responders, public works, the city manager, they were all out there. I was out there all, it was one of my neighbors. I mean, I opened up the blinds and all I could see was this giant ball of fire. And Don Rice is a friend. Yesterday was actually his birthday, and I chatted with him, and he said, thanks for all of the outpouring of all of the citizens here. They had just a big, generous amount of help. I can't remember how many houses people offered for him to stay in. He's actually staying in one of the local houses there. He went down to Florida for the first week or so just to kind of get his bearings and his wife. But he couldn't wait to get back up here. And, those of you that know him, he's also on the gardening committee. He does so much for the city. So again, I wanted to, present to you what he said. Thank you to everyone for everything that they did. Mr. Whiten was also one of my neighbors. I tell you, Rich Bulls had a tough go the first month of the year. Okay, keep it brief. In January, I only issued one citation, and it was for work started without a permit at 82 Alpine. They were putting on a new roof. Actually happened to be spotted by Public Works Director and City Manager who told me about it, and I went up and sure enough, they were getting ready to throw on a roof and issued them a citation. They paid the $75 permit fee. They also paid a $75, it's double the permit fee, so $150. Fraser Roofing, first time they ever done the work in here, they claimed they didn't know they needed a permit. Anyway, they paid the fine, so they said, you know, they'd like to work in here again, and they'll make sure that they do the right thing next time. No certificates of occupancy were issued last month. Construction continues right now on 3 homes here in Sky Valley, 3 new builds. One on the knob, they're really coming along. I mean, they've got the insulation in, they've got their HVAC in. The stone work has been done. I mean, it's really gonna be a nice, big home. Also, on the corner of LaBelle Circle and Covered Bridge, just over the weekend, the framing started coming up. Dylan Parker, as a matter of fact, just put in, he referenced that, but that was one of the septics he put in the last week or so. And then the Upper Ridge Pole, just at the gate, Mountain Modern, the last couple of weeks, they've been pouring the concrete foundation walls. And that's moving along, but the weather's kind of cleared up a little bit. And over the weekend, I actually got a call from a realtor with POS to tell me that she went under contract for several lots on LaBelle Circle, and that the contractor should be in the next couple of weeks to talk to me. I believe he may have already made cursory contact with Karen Fleming to talk about some new single-family construction on a couple of lots. As well as she told me that a contractor bought some acreage overall from Sheep Cliff, and they still need to come in and talk to the city and myself about splitting up, because it was a parcel, several acres. And they're also talking about probably later this year, building a couple of single family homes as well. So things are really starting to pick up as far as single family homes, which I think all of us are in favor of.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, in January, 11 building permits were issued and 4 tree permits. And that's more than last year, same time, 8 building permits and 2 tree permits. So, any questions?
Questions? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Chief Bomas, recognize him, he'll come forward and talk about everything in the police department.
Thank you, Chief Thomas. Good to see you.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. I wanted to begin on a somber note. On Monday, February 9th, we responded to the home of Mr. Wallace Whiten, a full-time resident on Upper Ridge Pole. Sergeant Maloney, Officer Ferris, and I arrived on scene. Sergeant Maloney immediately took lead until the medical first responders arrived. He was experiencing chest pains. Lieutenant Edwards secured the landing zone at the overlook, and that's just because that's where he was. He was closer to there, so he could get the landing zone set up. Sergeant Maloney led the ambulance down to make sure there was no other delays. While they were en route, we heard over the radio that CPR was in progress and the helicopter was canceled. That's one of those moments that just makes everything go quiet. You kind of go numb, but you got to keep doing your job. Despite efforts from police, fire, EMS, dispatch, he did pass away at Mountain Lakes Medical Center. Our thoughts and prayers go to the family, but I am proud of how the officers responded. Professionalism and compassion. In moments like that, you truly get to see the teamwork and the heart behind the badge. On a positive note, Officer Ferris starts night shift tomorrow night. He's proven this far to be a valuable addition to our department. We waited several months to fill the position, and it was worth it to bring the right person in for the community. Our monthly training last week was excellent. Ongoing training is critical to staying sharp and serving our residents. We plan to resume our safety checkpoints next month, weather permitting, after our training class. Tonight, we'll also be training, getting our CPR first aid recertification with the fire department at the Scala station. But together, training together strengthens all of us. There's a lot of good things going on with the police department. Response from the public has been overwhelmingly positive on the direction we're going. I just wanted to say, though, that the command staff of Lieutenant Edwards and Sergeant Maloney have been a big part of us making the progress that we have. It seems like everybody just wants to tell me, you know, what's going on, but I'm telling you, it's a lot to do with their efforts behind the scenes. Anybody that is on Facebook, I'd encourage you to follow our page, Sky Valley Police Department page. It'll just get you a lot of information out quicker, you know, for wrecks or road closures, et cetera, weather. We remain committed, unified, and steady in our mission to serve the community with integrity and compassion. And about with the fire, I'm waiting until next month to talk about that a little more, what Officer Williams did. So that way he can be here. He works night shift, so he'll be able to be prepared to come to that next meeting. That's all I got.
Thank you, and I appreciate you turning up at the first of the morning with the mayor's sessions. We met lots of wonderful folks, and it was just a great interaction and getting to know our community. And I hope that you'll be at the next one, and the rest of you too. Thank you so much.
Except for council members.
Mayor, Chief Sigler, if you'd like to come forward, if you have anything to add, recognize her. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Sigler, and welcome.
Good morning. First off, on behalf of the fire department, I would like to express our condolences to the Spears family. David was a longtime past member of the board of directors for the fire department. He kept us in line for many years up there, and would be sorely missed. He stopped by the station over the past couple of years, just to keep his nose in it, if you would, and go downstairs and take advantage of our workout facility. But he will be missed, and again, our condolences. I've been asked several times here in the last few weeks, you know, what about the fire? What about the individual that died up on the end of Ridgepole? And I gotta say, unlike the police department, fire department falls under a slightly different set of rules when it comes to emanating information. Anything that is private will not be discussed with anybody. I don't care who you are, unless you're a medical professional and actively in the incident that we are talking about. We cannot give out any information. As far as the fire on Ridgepole, it has been determined to be accidental. The exact cause, we will never find out. I will tell you that right now. We will never find an exact cause. We can only hypothetically guess on a scientific basis of guesswork, if you would. I'm relatively sure that it started in their bedroom. That's about all I can tell you, because that's where they were when the officers found them. So, but due to the damage, the extent of the fire had on us before we even were notified of the fire and our extinguishing activities, the amount of debris left over and the exact cause. If anybody says an exact cause, they're lying to you. It won't come from me. There's only two types of fire, and that's accidental and intentional. This was not an intentional fire. So it's accidental, and there's only a certain number of accidental causes it could be, but we will never find out what that was. But as a courtesy to you all, I'm a firefighter, which definition of a firefighter is somebody that is rude, crude, and socially unacceptable. That is me. I'm a firefighter for 47 years now. It's been a long 47 years. Do not call and expect an answer when it comes to personal information. Don't care who you are, I will not give it to you. That just can't be done. On that note, I would like to thank the police department and for their efforts at both the fire and the EMS call we had up on Upper Ridgepole. They worked good with us. We worked good with them. We're getting a lot better at meshing together, if you would. That the one on Ridgepole, the medical call kind of turned into a big ball of wax there. And it wasn't either the police department or the fire department's fault. It was just bad timing, bad information. So it was one of those events that took a lot longer than it should have, and a lot more people were involved than should have been. But it worked out. As far as we're concerned, unfortunately for the individual, he passed, and there was really nothing anybody could do about it. In a few minutes, it's going to come to the board to approve our annual budget for the fire department, our agreement with the fire department. I talked to a few of the council members. I talked to our city manager, Mr. Streetman, about reducing the amount of money that we were going to ask for this year. Unfortunately, again, timing was a little off. They come up with their budget by the first of the year. Unfortunately, we come up with our budget at the end of January. So their budget was already approved before I could get ours through the board of directors and through our membership and all. You're going to see that it's budgeted for $174,000 for the year for the fire department. We talked about reducing that this year. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We're still going to have to. We're going to ask for the 174. We're going to try, hopefully, in this next year to change our timing around a little bit so that we can get our next year's budget through by like the beginning of December before the city's budget is approved and worked on. That way we don't have a problem like this next year. I want to reduce the amount that we ask the taxpayers for. We're not in the gift giving business, okay? So I'm not going to give you an extra $14,000 this year, okay? It is not to pay for sewer or culverts or lunches or anything like that. It's gonna come to the fire department. When I reduce the rate next year, it is to reduce the overall millage rate that the taxpayers will be funding. Not the city, the taxpayers. Okay, it's not a gift, it is our responsibility to the taxpayers to keep the amount of money more reasonable. The monies that we allocate to the fire department, the city gives us to the fire department is built on millage rate. The millage keeps going up and up and up. No matter how much you roll it back, it keeps going up due to the value of the houses, the number of houses you have here. The fire department, it's a great number. It's a great starting point for the fire department, but it should be adjusted based on the needs of the fire department. Our needs right now are not to the point where every year we need a raise. Okay, we're not in that business. I'm glad the police department's getting a raise. They deserve it. They're getting all kinds of new stuff. That's great. Fire department doesn't need it right now. In the future, we might need a larger fire station. We might need another piece of apparatus. We may need to replace a piece of apparatus. Right now, we don't. Okay, so we're going to try to reduce the amount of money through the millage rate next fall to get it into next year's budget. So hopefully you'll see a little reduction, at least on the fire department's end, your taxes. Is there any questions y'all have? None whatsoever. Great. Nice seeing y'all. Have a safe month. If you can't be safe, be lucky at least. All right.
Thank you for your That's it for the department.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will move on to committee reports. And
That's me.
that is our council president, Beth Pence.
All right, so, the Finance and Administration Committee, met on February 10th for 1.5 hours. The committee members were all present: Michelle Herschel, Steve Mason, and Jim Phelps, and myself. And 6 others were on Zoom and 2 others were in person. The state representative, Victor Anderson, shared the current property tax proposals with us that are currently in the Georgia House. And we reviewed and discussed the 7 duties of the committee by bullet points. The next meeting will be Wednesday, May 20th at 2 p.m. right here at City Hall, and all are welcome. The advisory committee, I also chair, and that is going to meet on March 26th at 2 p.m. And that committee has Tony as the other council member, Kelsey Price, Rudy Massey, and Nelson Lewis Jr. serve on that committee. And did I forget to mention you, Jim, that Jim Curtis is also on the Finance and Administration Committee. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. And point 10, considering various mayoral committee member appointees. This has been an interesting process, and I would ask that you consider the 2 resolutions under new business. And let me come up. Okay, the proposed member appointees for the Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness Advisory Committee. The chair is Tony Allred, recommended. Second council member is Carrie Sue Beasley. The members of that committee are Joseph Bowler, citizen members that is, Kenan McCollum, Lita Thomas, Dee Gehring, and Drea Toretti. The ex officio members would be the fire chief, the police chief, or their designated representatives, the communication specialist, Sharon Van Camp, and city manager, Jason Streetman, and of course, the mayor is an ex officio member, a member to all the advisory committees. The resolution for the Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness Committee is attached in the agenda packet. And should I go ahead with the second committee, or should Mr. Parliamentarian, or and have a
I would vote on each committee's.
separately? All right, so do I have a motion to approve the proposed members and the enabling resolution? I'm not sure if I should call it an enabling resolution, a descriptive resolution for the Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness Advisory Committee. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion, and all in favor of the motion? Aye.
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 And the motion proceeds, is approved unanimously. Congratulations to our committee members. I look forward to working with you, and I'm really excited to see how this progresses through the next couple of years as we take care of the safety and emergency preparedness of our community. The next committee, I have proposed the following members for Public Works and the Facilities, Public Works and Facilities Advisory Committee. The chair is Council Member Jesse Price. The second council member is Jim Curtis. The members are Dick Greer, Lovett Bennett, and David Herschel. And we have, I'm sorry, the Public Works Director, or a duly designated representative, is ex officio, along with the city manager ex officio, and the mayor serves as an ex officio member of all the advisory committees. So do I have a motion to approve the establishment of the Public Works and Facilities Advisory Committee membership?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. I have stated before that I'm not in favor of any of the committees except for the Emergency Management Committee. I felt like they were redundant. I feel like the description of this should fall under the city council. And again, I can't attend any of these meetings, so I don't like the fact that I won't be involved in helping with the water fund. So I intend to vote no.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
And the motion passes by a vote of 4-1. All right, moving back to the agenda. We have, sorry. We consider approval of the Sky Valley Scaly Mountain Volunteer and Fire Rescue Annual Agreement.
So not only, as Chief Sigler said, this is an annual agreement that comes here every year. Historically, it's based on, the amount is based on 1.5 meals of the adopted millage rate. As Chief Sigler said, for this year, it's 174,000. I have that from me, but $174,778.84. That was approved at the back in November when the council adopted the budget. I know there was discussions about what that amount might be, but at that time, the full amount was approved. That money has been earmarked for that. And so at this time, as the council sees every year, this comes before you all for a vote to approve that. That money is paid quarterly. And so basically you just take that amount, divide it by 4. And so they would receive $43,694.71 per quarter. And that goes to help fund their fire operations. So that's for your consideration right now and potential approval.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the budget for the Sky Valley Scaly Mountain Volunteer Fire and Rescue Annual Agreement? That is a mouthful.
I move. I so move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just to thank Chief Sigler for his comments about preparing the budget for next year. And I appreciate that, and I think it's important. We really aren't privy to all the financial goings on. We don't really understand what the contributions are from all the other entities that help fund it. We're happy to pay our share, no question about that. We love what we get for it. The fire department's a great citizen. I hope this goes on for a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to add, I think you guys are priceless. All of our first responders, like our police and our fire, you guys are priceless to us. I don't think the price tag could reflect on how much you guys mean to us. I'm happy to approve.
Any further discussion? If I may add, I really enjoyed hearing the part about coming back for less next time.
Everybody does.
Oh, all right. Seeing no further discussion, we'll proceed to a vote. All of those in favor say aye.
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 No.
There was another.
Yes, that was discussion.
Motion,
Yeah.
I made the motion, Jim seconded.
Oh,
Yes.
Jim seconded.
Jim seconded, yes. Councilor Curtis. We have the aye vote. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Next, to consider the amendment to the Sky Valley zoning ordinance. And this is the first reading and introduction, and I will ask our city attorney to take the lead. and perhaps answer earlier questions.
Sure. All right, in front of you is an ordinance to amend the city's zoning ordinance to address the eligibility for appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I was asked to, I guess, clarify the existing section 1501 of the zoning ordinance, which deals with the creation and appointment of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I was asked to clarify exactly who's eligible to be on there. And so what I did was, what you have in front of you is the exact language of section 1501 as it currently exists, except for the phrase whether part-time or full-time, which you'll see there in bold. And that was basically had come up at the last meeting to clarify exactly whether a resident had to be a full-time resident or a part-time resident. And so to clarify that, I made this this proposed change to section 1501. Now, section 1501 does fall under the city's zoning ordinance. And in the state of Georgia, typically any changes to a city's zoning ordinance, it falls under special procedural rules on how you enact that. And typically, you would have to have a notice in the paper. Typically, you'd have to have a public hearing, and then you'd have to have two meetings, one to read and then one vote on it. Typically, because those special procedural rules are in place for anything that are considered what's called a zoning decision. And zoning decisions are defined in state laws. Basically, I don't have it in front of me, but basically any type of rule or regulation that deals with how people can use their own property. So things like setbacks and variances and this, that, and the other that deals with how people can use their property would be a zoning decision and would require us to have a public hearing. However, there are certain limited things that in a zoning ordinance that do not fall under a zoning decision, and administrative and personnel actions would fall outside of those special rules. And this section 1501 deals exclusively with the creation and appointment of members to the Planning and Zoning Commission. As you can see from the full text there, it deals with establishing the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it lists how many members there are and how long they served and vacancies to that. So as you can see, the entirety of section 1501 does not deal with actual regulation of people's use of their own land, and therefore is not a zoning decision under Georgia law. And in my opinion, does not require us to do those special procedural rules that would require a public hearing. As you heard from Ms. Smith earlier, she took the opposite view of that. And I'll be honest, when I first was given this, my first instinct was this is probably a zoning decision. We probably have to do a public hearing on it. But the more I researched it, there is an exception to it, which is administrative and personnel. And the entirety of section 1501 deals with personnel and the administration of this commission and does not implicate a zoning decision. So I'm confident saying that you can move forward with this today without going through those special procedural rules to have the public hearing on that. I think also in her paper that we were given before the meeting, she had some questions about, is this a charter change? Because if you are familiar with our charter, the committees say that members are to be what's called a citizen at large. That's a term of art that is not defined in the charter. It's not defined in state law. And I don't believe it's actually really defined in any case law. But if you also look in our charter, the council members, y'all's positions are also at large as well. So what does that mean? It means that y'all are not elected by district. There are a lot of cities across the state in their charters that say you're District 1, you're District 2, and they have boundaries, and you have to live within that district. If that's not the case, then you are considered at large. And so citizens at large, at least according to Black's Law Dictionary, would be someone found inside that city that is not a part of a district. And so that would be just somebody in the city at large. So conceivably, on this Planning and Zoning Commission or any other commission, you could have an entirety of a board that all lives in the same condo building. They don't have to live in, there's no geographical diversity. They don't have to live in different parts of the city. That's different than some cities. I've seen some cities charter that will say that members of commissions have to live one in District 1, District 2, so forth. So that is what citizens at large means, is that it's basically someone found inside the city that lives there at large. And so the question becomes, does that mean they have to be a full-time resident or not? And so there's some question as to that. there's nothing in the charter that says anything about full-time or part-time. The nature of this city is that we are a small city that is home to a lot of people who are not technically full-time residents. And my understanding is that the council would like to consider having people who are not necessarily a full-time resident be a part of these committees, specifically the planning and zoning is what we're looking at right now. And whether we can use their expertise to be on the planning and zoning committee, even though they may not be a full-time resident, which would be somebody living in a home 6 months or more. My research would say, yes, we can do that. That is not in conflict with the charter saying a citizen at large. Because the charter doesn't say full-time resident, I think it's within the council's power to clarify exactly what a citizen at large is. And if you want to have someone that has a part-time residency within the city, then it's within the council's power to do that. You don't have to, but you can. In fact, I would make the argument that previous committees that just had resolutions or this ordinance that just says resident, a part-time resident could have served, and I think possibly part-time residents have served in the past. And I don't think that that was illegal. What we're trying to do here is just to clarify so everybody's on board that we are okay with part-time residents, and that's how I've drafted this. So I think there was some mention in that memo about, no, you need to have somebody's domicile be in Sky Valley. And domicile just basically means the place that you live at, that you have, even if you move away or if you have a second home, you always have an intent to return to that home, and that's your primary residence. And most people, it's very clear what their domicile is. They have one house, that's their domicile. Or they have two houses and they live one place 10 months out of the year, the other place 2 months. That's clear. Less clear is, and it's not common, but not inconceivable, that somebody has 3 different houses and they live 3 or 4 months out of the year at each house. They still have a domicile, even though they don't live 6 months in one location. So it is really, there are multiple factors in considering domicile, but basically, if you consider it to be your home and that's where you get your mail out, for instance, or that's where you vote out or things of that nature, then that could be considered your domicile. So it's not as cut and dry to pick somebody's domicile. But I do think it is within the council's authority that if you want to make clear that a part-time resident is eligible for these committees, that you can do so. It's not in conflict with our charter. So that's my understanding of it. And really on this ordinance, all you're doing is that bold part there, whether part-time or full-time. That's the only change that would be occurring to section 1501 of this ordinance. So if y'all had any questions?
Is there any mention in here of whether or not that person who lives here part-time is a property owner? Or just happens to have access?
This should be
to a
part of
house and lives here
discussion,
4 months a year?
Is there any mention in there of whether a person is a property owner?
In this change that I have here and what was existing, for the planning and zoning, it did not.
Yeah.
It just said a resident, it shall be a resident of the city. And also, I would say that I would have to look it up to confirm it. I don't think you can make a distinction between a renter and a property owner. Like if you rent property here and you live here, I mean, you're still a resident. So I don't think that distinction.
Is this part of discussion or is this, because I have lots of comments, but
Yeah,
I'm saving it for discussion session.
Yeah, so I guess before we get into proper discussion, if there's well, actually, this is a first reading, so we're not voting on anything. So I guess all of it's discussion.
Oh, because I have a whole statement to read. So I don't know if this is the appropriate time. That's why I'm trying to wait. I thought it was,
Well, ask the mayor.
I'm asking.
All right.
Is this the appropriate time for me to have
This
questions?
would be the appropriate time for discussion, and discussion is now open. I recognize Councillor Beasley.
Okay, I have much to say about this issue. My first question is why brand new leadership wants to change a long-standing ordinance. For context, we're using and operating off a zoning map and ordinance from 2005. It's 21 years old. So I asked, what is the driving forces to even create or change the zoning ordinance in 2005 to 2003? So if you look back, it hasn't been changed since 2005, except for 2 reasons, and I'll explain that in a second. So then you go back and you read. So I've read all the 91 pages of the city council meetings and minutes from 2005, and I will share with that for a minute. So the first thing I do when we want to change a longstanding thing, especially as brand new administration, my question is why? Why? So what the driving force is to create it. I went back to the meeting. So here's what was going on in Sky Valley at that time. Merrill Trust purchased the ski lodge, then permanently closed the ski lodge at the end of 2004. That trust invested $4 million in a major 2-year renovation of the golf course. Additionally, that trust planned for a development of a new urbanization village. The development plans for a village center that was intended to include condominiums, restaurants, shops, surrounding amphitheater to serve as the community's activity hub. Does that sound familiar? So I read all the minutes from 2005, and interestingly, they discussed Merrill and all of that in all the minutes. In 2005, where we are now changing this ordinance that has been proposed today, there was supposed to be meeting minutes and a special meeting on October 17th. But of the 91 pages of the meeting minutes, they stop on October 10th and they pick up again on November 14th. So the meeting minutes are referenced in the November 14th meeting where they're looking for the adoption of the minutes, and the special meeting took place, but there was no documentation of it. Interestingly, right? So, however, this is what was passed. This is the preamble and the enactment clause for the Article 1501 that he's referring. And the purpose of promoting the health, convenience, order, prosperity, and general welfare of the present and future inhabitants of the city of Sky Valley and the state of Georgia, including, among others, purposes the lessening of congestion of the streets, preventing the overcrowding of land, and avoiding both undue concentration of population and urban sprawl. And then they create this appointment, the committee, 1501. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall be composed of 5 members appointed by the city of Sky Valley. 3 members shall be present to make a comment. All members appointed to the Planning and Zoning Committee shall be residents of the city. Okay? And they serve 3-year terms. And there's no term limits. So my understanding is the zoning, and correct me, anybody that I'm wrong on this. My understanding is that there's been 2 zoning ordinance changes since 2005. They added solar panels and they did the new tree ordinance last year, 2025. The past city councils had years and years to change the zoning ordinance to update the commission composition, because that's what we're doing. We're changing the composition. And they could have done it at any time or in conjunctly with the 2 that they have done recently, but they didn't. And neither should we. Not like this. Not for the sole reason the mayor presents as part-time residency issue. This is not a new concept. Sky Valley has had a part-time resident since it was origin. However, when the city became chartered by state law, it requires residents to run it. So your reference to us as council people, we can't be part-time residents because we have the domicile, going back to what you said.
Right, the election code does specifically lists exactly how you are eligible to be a candidate and office holder.
So when they created the city of Sky Valley, and it's also Georgia state law, that it requires if you're elected that you have to be a resident. And being a resident is easily defined. Homestead, driver's license, voting, that's very easy. What is not easy to define is part-time residents. That is true for all cities everywhere. So all of us who own property in Florida or own property other way, this is not unique to Sky Valley. There are lots of people who own more than one property and recognize they cannot vote in other places and recognize that zoning is run in other places that has nothing to do with them. They get to vote where they live and where their special interest lies. You must have legal domicile, a singular permanent home, and based on the idea that the official person interest must be tethered to the community they govern. I have 2 emails from the mayor clearly outlining her wanting this ordinance to accommodate Jim Phelps' membership. Please, Mr. Phelps is an exceptional person and I call him a friend. None of this is personal against Mr. Phelps. And an email dated December 14th from the mayor to the city council. She says, I'm cognizant of the optics and potential conflicts, so I have not paired family members on the same standing committee. My goal is for the city councilman to benefit from the knowledge and expertise. As for the planning and zoning, I plan to replace Dan McAbee, Don Germano, and David Spears. I'm adding Jesse to the committee. I do not intend to remove Jim Phelps. I intend to recommend Tony Allred to the committee as far as he agrees. And then further clarification on January 7th from the mayor to the council. I will request the city council to approve an ordinance amendment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I have instructed the city attorney to draft the amendment for your approval to enable part-time residents as committee members on the P and Z. As you know, Jim Phelps is already serving as a valued member, and I would like to dispel any and all questions and doubts of his legitimacy or liability about the ability of such members to participate. This does not require a change of the charter. So clearly to me, the mayor is stating her sole purpose of changing the planning and zoning is to accommodate Jim Phelps. I have no other part-time resident was ever mentioned. I have had conversations with the city attorney last fall. I've had conversations with Mr. Phelps. Both acknowledged that his current past membership did not technically meet that legal criteria. In fact, the only reason I knew about it is because Jim Phelps brought it up to me. The mayor wanting to change the ordinance meets a specific desire that feels politically motivated. Mr. Phelps, I believe, is the only layperson who has been recommended and mayor appointed to serve on 2 committee persons. Nobody else is serving on 2 but Jim. Further, Mr. and Mrs. Phelps were an integral part of the mayor's campaign for office. In fact, they supported all the newly elected officials, and I appreciate their support and commitment to Sky Valley. Furthermore, the way this change is proposed, it could theoretically have no full-time residents on it. You could have literally all part-time residents on this committee that run it. No legal voters to have to say about their home in Sky Valley. So part-time residency could give us full-time consequences as a full-time resident. And we could theoretically not even have a resident of Sky Valley on this committee. Sky Valley's entire future could be based on absentee residents, LLCs, developers, and seasonal tourists. I'm totally in favor of updating the zoning ordinance in its entirety if the council wishes to assume that task. 20+ years is way too long. The building inspector, Jim Pyburn, who I met with, has also recommended as such, and the composition of the commission could be addressed at that time, after much depth and exploration on what defines a part-time resident, or maybe term limits. Or maybe you can only have so many part-time residents and so many full-time residents. Virtual signaling the inclusion of part-time residents because they pay taxes too, and rush decisions to accommodate the politically friendly does not make for sound judgment or good governmental policy. I'm adamantly opposed to the ordinance changes it's being presented by the mayor for all the reasons I have stated, and I will vote no.
Thank you for your comments. Any further discussion or questions of the city attorney?
I have a comment. I believe there was more to the mayor's email. If I remember reading it correctly, that also mentioned transparency and encouraging all part-time residents who pay taxes, own a home here, own a condo here, to participate, that it would encourage that. And you did run on that. I'm disappointed that you would infer that it was politically friendly for the mayor to do that. I think that's irresponsible on your part, Carrie Sue Beasley. But you did not read all of the mayor's email.
It's public record.
Where she mentions the transparent and encouraging all part-timers to be included in this, not just Jim Phelps. And Jim Phelps, I hope he will not be discouraged from continuing to serve after serving 2 years.
And I have spoken to Jim. I called him on Saturday and gave him the courtesy of telling him what I was doing. There was no other mentions of part-time residents at all in her intention with the P&Z that was shared with me, unless you have information I don't.
Not by name.
And why is one particular person that was so integral part of the campaign the only person that is being mayor appointed to 2 powerful committees?
He was on the committee already.
Right, but not technically
For 2
legally.
years, appointed by Mayor Holly.
Then why is he on the finance and admin committee?
As he was asked to be on the finance.
Right, so he's serving 2 positions.
It's okay. As far as I'm concerned.
And part-time residents are welcome to serve on those other committees. That was made perfectly clear. again, the way this reads, the whole P and Z committee could be non-residents and non-voters.
That wouldn't be responsible, nor would it represent Sky Valley homeowners. But again, to what you're insinuating is this was
I'm not
all
insinuating.
politically friendly. And that was why the mayor did this, and I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Mr. Phelps, who I spoke to, understood the optics of that, and he resigned from the committee, which is a shame because I love Jim and I think he's valuable and he's been a good friend, which is why I gave him the courtesy. But he recognized the optics of this as well, which is why he resigned on Sunday. But I don't think, in the spirit of transparency, that we should make, and as divided as the city was about these things, that we should make one person have more power than some of the other opportunities that some of the other residents might employ. But I respect your opinion, Beth.
Anyone else?
Well, I think some serious issues have been raised. But I think that on the whole, Sky Valley will benefit from the expertise of people who are not full-time residents. Now, I depend on the mayor to pick qualified people, and I think virtually unanimously she has. I also rely on the mayor to make sure that committees can function when people are back in Florida. In other words, I would hope there wouldn't be a whole lot of part-time people on these things, just as a practical matter, so that business can continue year-round. So as a practical matter, I would expect the mayor would not appoint a committee full of part-time people. So I'm planning to vote for this change because, over the years, there's been a lot of concern by our part-time residents who are neighbors and friends about not having a voice in the management of the city. I think in a way that's sort of crazy because we listen to people that come to our meetings and comment without asking whether they're full-time or part-time or voters or not. Serving on council, serving on these other committees is like a trust. Sky Valley's special. Sky Valley needs to be preserved. We need to get the best advice that we can. And I think we have done that. And yet still, we hear that people don't feel like they're represented. So I think this is a step in the direction of assuring people that just because you're not here full-time doesn't mean we're not representing you to the best of our ability.
I would like to comment on that.
Sure.
I agree. I don't believe the mayor is going to appoint anybody bad, but this is for all mayors in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking about the current mayor, and we're not talking about anybody personally. It's what you open the door for, and possibly who somebody doesn't think like the mayor does or whatever. And again, this is not a personal thing about any part-time, but you can't have the expectation to own 75 houses across this country and that you can influence planning and zoning in all of the areas of the 75 places that you own. You can only vote in one place.
Right.
So I think that our part-time residents have a lot to add, and I think there's a way to include them, but not with how this is written and for how it was presented.
Okay. And my only comment would be that I have faith if we do our job, keep Sky Valley running smoothly and with our eye to the future, that the people who live here will have the wisdom to elect mayors who would,
Fair enough.
be responsible.
So if I may add something, and it's a phrase I've used frequently, the mayor proposes, the council disposes. I have no vote. I propose the the committee members to the council. The council takes that vote. That is not my decision. It's my selection, but it is ultimately the checks and balances that come from the city council. Thank you.
Just want to add one thing, just remember that these committees are advisory committees. They don't really have any power to enact or change anything. They recommend to the council, and the council decides. And as a member myself of some of those committees, wise counsel is worth listening to regardless of whether they're here or not. And I think we're smart enough to figure out if it's self-serving or not.
Well, this being my first effort at an ordinance change, if you would tell me what's next.
Sure. So this was just the first reading. So we've done a first reading. There's no action to be taken. And so nothing going forward today. If you do want to enact this ordinance, then at the next council meeting, it'll be on the agenda and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 13, to consider a proclamation for Arbor Day to be celebrated on Friday, February 20th. City Manager Jason Streetman.
Madam Mayor, after a long spirited day of meetings here, it's always good that you can kind of end on a good part or a high note. A lot of business taken care of today, but I touched on this, I believe, last month that we found out that this, again, we were awarded the designation of Tree City. And Arbor Day is traditionally recognized in April, usually Earth Day, April 22nd. Georgia's kind of unique. Governor Kemp put out a proclamation that Friday, February 20th, this Friday would be Arbor Day. And so we have our own official proclamation that aligns with that governor charge. I can read that if you would like me to, Madam Mayor.
Please do.
And then we also, at the conclusion of the meeting, if everybody has a little bit of time, one of the requirements we have to do is we have to show proof of an activity. So if you don't mind getting your hands a little dirty, we've got 6 shovels out there. We have a cherry tree that we're going to be planting that kind of coincides, the 250th anniversary of our great and wonderful country. George Washington said, "I cannot lie, I cut down the cherry tree." So we picked the cherry tree. And so anyway, we have a tree out there that we would like to give a photo opportunity for you all. Also, it satisfies the Tree City requirements for next year. So anyway, this proclamation, and then of course at the end of the meeting, we also have new signs, but I'll get to that in just a second. But Tree City USA official proclamation. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Anita Cotton Orr, Mayor of the city of Sky Valley, Georgia, do hereby proclaim Friday, February 20th, 2026 is Arbor Day in the city of Sky Valley, Georgia. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this future generation, dated the 17th day of February 2026. And there's a place, Mayor, that you can sign that.
Well said, man.
Thank you. I've been known to be verbose.
So this is our 10th year. We actually, I know not everybody loves signs, but these are actually good signs to have. Take my glasses off, making sound like 104. But anyway, we got new signs, Jerry and his guys, we put in these signs up. Again, this is one of those signs that you like to have. And though these signs will be going up here very soon. The existing signs, we're thinking we'll probably move one down to 246 and one down the bottom of Evergreen. And speaking of signs, if anybody has been down at the Overlook, I just want to share this also. A special place there in the falls, as you ride by, we have some wonderful signs that have been put out. Again, they're not too large or offensive, but they read, "Please take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints." And it's also in Spanish for any of our visitors that maybe do not speak English. But again, those are two great assets for the city of the Overlook and the falls. They've already been put up at the Overlook. These will be put up at the falls here any day now. And that concludes the proclamation, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we need a motion to approve that proclamation?
We do this once a year, Karen. Is it just the mayor or should we have the whole council do it?
Yeah.
That puts you on the spot. I know she can.
Yeah, I would love to know who's against trees in this city.
Yeah, since it's on the agenda item for, action, I would say yes.
All right, well, do I, have a motion to approve the Tree City
So moved.
proclamation? Thank you, I was looking for the word. Do I have a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
do we need an ordinance that we should take down a sign every time we put one up?
Only if we can get one that we give back $1 every time we take one. All right, all in favor of the proclamation for Arbor Day, February 20th?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. And other business, we, I believe, do not need an executive session. And
That's good.
with that being done, congratulations and thank you to everybody for a great meeting. And do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously as well. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.